This video is part 3 of week 1 of technology on signed numbers, and this will cover order of operations and some applications. If you recall from when we did order of operations before, you want to do any kind of parentheses or grouping symbols first. This would include brackets, braces, even then evaluate the exponents, then do multiplication division from left to right, and then addition and subtraction from left to right. So if we look at this first example, we have a multiplication, so we need to multiply -8 times +3. A negative times a positive gives you a negative number. 8 times 3 is 24, so the top would be -24. I'll just bring over the -4 and write it down. Now I have a negative divided by negative, which gives me a positive answer. 24 divided by 4 would be a 6. In the next example, I have an exponent, so I need to do that first. Remember, squaring means to multiply that number by itself, so I'm going to end up having -3 times -3. Well, a negative times a negative gives me a positive result, so this is going to be a +9. I'll copy down the 2 remaining numbers, and then I'm going to work myself from left to right. 24 plus 19 would be 43. Copy my 9. 43 plus 9 would give me a 52. And then finally, this last one. We have a parenthesis, so we would start here. I have a 5 subtract 2. Remember that 5 minus 2 would give me a 3. I'll just copy. I've got a 4 squared. Well, 4 squared means 4 times 4. So that's going to be a positive 16. So I have 4 times 3 plus 16. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 16 would give me a 28. If we look here on the left, we've got -5 squared plus quantity +7 or -7 squared minus 1 cubed. Now, I'll start in the middle. Remember, they have a parenthesis, so we're going to have to square -7. Well, -7 times -7 would make a positive 49. When I look at this one, there are no parentheses, so this really means negative, and then they are just squaring the 5. So this would result in a negative 25. Likewise, over here, there's no parentheses, so they are cubing or raising 1 to the 3rd power. So this translates into 1, or negative times 1 times 1 times 1. So this would result in a -1. Now, working my way from left to right, -25 plus 49, well, that's going to give me positive 24 because I have a negative number added to a positive number, so I have to find the difference and use the sign of the larger. And then I have a -1. Well, 24 minus 1 would make a 23. In this next example, we again have some parentheses. So I've got a 6 subtract 9. Well, you can think about that being a 6 plus a -9. You have a positive number and a negative number, so this is going to be a -3. Copy down the remaining amounts. Now, this would be considered a grouping symbol, and remember that's a square root, so they're saying, what is the square root of 49? That's asking what number when square would give me a 49, and that would be a 7. So I'll copy down the rest. Now, starting from multiplication over here, 4 times -3, a positive number times a negative number would give me a negative number. 4 times 3 is 12. Starting from the left to the right, a -12 plus a -6 would give me a negative number because I have like signs. 12 plus 6 is 18. And I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this one as a addition problem, just so there's no confusion. And then we'd have a negative number and another negative number combined together, so they're going to make a larger negative number, so it'd be -25. Okay, let's look at this example. We have a nested parenthesis right here. So we'd start out doing a -4 and a +5. Well, that's going to give me a +1 because I have to find the difference, and the larger quantity is the 5. I'll copy what's left. Next thing, when I do the multiplication inside the parenthesis, well, +2 times a +1 would be 2. And I'll again copy what remains on the outside. Now I have this to do. Well, I have a -5 and a +2. Find the difference between them, which would be a 3. The larger quantity is negative, so that makes a negative 3. I have a multiplication and subtraction, so I have to do the multiplication next. A negative times a negative makes a positive. So 3 times 3 is 9. That's a positive 9 minus 6.3. And then finally, I just have a regular subtraction here. 9 minus 6.3 would give me a 2.7. Now let's look at this application problem. It says, use the graph to find the average temperature of the months from January through May. Now, just to review, when you're finding an average is the total of the values divided by the number of values. Now, in this particular problem, they asked me to find the averages of January through May. So the values they want me to find the average are January, February, March, April, and May. So to find the total, I'm going to have to add all those numbers together. So I'm going to add negative 14 plus negative 16 plus a negative 14 plus a negative 1 plus a 20. Add all those together, and then I'm going to divide that by the number of values, which it looks like there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's go ahead and add all these together first. Well, if I add two negative numbers, it's going to make a negative number, so that's going to be negative 30, and I'll just copy the other values down. Doing the next amount, negative 30 plus a negative 14, and two negative quantities again, so I'm going to add them together, which would make negative 44. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to go up here. So combine the next two together. They're both negative, so a negative 44 and a negative 1 would give me negative 45. Add the 20. So it looks like the total on this last one, because one's negative, one's positive, I have to find the difference, so that would be a negative 25. It's negative because the larger quantity is negative. So the total values up here would be negative 25. How many values are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to give my answer, the average would be equal to negative 5. So the average is negative 5 degrees.